Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a spotlight on J.U.L.I.A Among the Stars. This is a point-and-click adventure game that was developed by CBE Software. It's currently available on Steam for $19.99. This is an interesting game. If you're familiar with point-and-click adventure games, this is fairly typical. It does deviate quite a bit in certain aspects. For one, there is no character on the screen at any point in time. The only time you ever see the characters is when they're talking, and it's just the little box down below, or in some cutscenes. So let's hop in here. What I've got right now is I have a save that's fairly early on in the game, primarily because I forgot to save new saves throughout, so had to start over. Anyway, so here we are. We are on the first planet. We've just landed, and we are currently in a creature called Mobot. Mobot is a mobile robot. I know, it sounds magical. There's three main characters that you are interacting with, I guess. There is Mobot, there is Rachel, so if we interact here, so you've got Rachel here, that is J.U.L.I.A. J.U.L.I.A is the ship, she is the ship AI. And then you've got Mobot. Mobot is your mobile robot. Right now he's in his big suit. He has his big boy suit, and he has his little boy suit. Technically, that little laser that you see above his head, let's bring him up here again, that little tiny laser light show thing that's up there, that's attached to the actual Mobot. Mobot himself is this little hover bot that sits inside of that suit. So that suit's really just like an exosuit for the little flying robot thing. It's actually kind of an ingenious idea. So, as is typical with pretty much every point and click, you have to seek out different things. And Mobot is tremendously helpful. It has an inscription of some sort.
It looks almost like a tombstone.
He doesn't usually give you all the information and has to be prodded by Julia or Rebecca. He's
what happened to the
kind of an inadvertent
Shouldn't it be safely
jerk.
perched on top of the station?
But that said, he is probably the most likable character throughout the entire game.
Well, guess it's for us to find out.
Julia's kind of mysterious. There's a lot of things going on with her that
Not really, no.
there's things that make you question. You know, you've got to be like, so what is the role of Julia? Why have things gone the way they have? And just questions that are brought up questioning Julia and actually questioning Rebecca. And there's actually a point, and here's Mobot's transformation. So this is where you actually see Mobot himself. So there we are. There's Mobot. And this is how he can move around in smaller spaces.
The power is off.
And you've also got a different character screen for him as well.
We should try searching for them outside.
So a lot of this game is like this.
It
It is just spoken or read text on the bottom while looking at a fairly static screen. Not a lot of movement on the early ones. Later on, you get into some that have more movement to them. Now, that said, most of the early ones, you're on this kind of desolate planet. And it's... what movement are you going to see in a bunch of rocks? And, of course, Mobot is very helpful with his obvious observations. So is Julia, actually. I found Julia to be... she's not that observant early on. She gets a little bit better later on, but for the most part, she's kind of oblivious to everything and just kind of along for the ride. There's a certain point within the game, it's actually fairly early, where you're investigating inside of this station here. And you kind of You get to a data pad, and her name is mentioned, but nobody bats an eye. Nobody even acknowledges it. It's kind of awkward, and I find that things like that just kind of rip you out of the experience. It's very, very awkward. Let's get rid of that. You can skip cutscenes, which is very, very nice. Let's see, did I miss anything? Oh, the elevator.
We were supposed to use
Doesn't
it
look
to
like it's been
I
used.
wonder what...
It was
Anyway. So, it's a very weird experience when you see things like that. It's just like, you're just kind of ripped out of the experience. It's, I guess, immersion breaking would be the word. And as you can see, there is a whole bunch of things to click here. Not all of it needs to be clicked.
This piece of cloth I can see.
So let's grab a sample. This is what you do. You end up grabbing samples. Now, something that is a little different from this point and click and other point and clicks is a lot of point and click adventures. You go to an area, you have to find an item, then you have to use that item on a certain thing. So let's... Oh, no, that's not what I wanted to do. There is a spot in here. Where is it? These are actually completely useless, but they do bring up some interesting statements. That's decon. Need an ID card, which is what I am looking for. Right, underneath the metal. There's something slipped under it. Look under the metal.
Can you get it?
With this, you don't have to select the item. So here we've got a new item.
Our ticket into the station.
There's no inventory on the left or the right, or top or bottom. There's quite literally nothing. All you've got is these, and this is an empty slot, which comes to later. You've got your log, but your log doesn't contain items. So it's a little bit strange. And you got this map too, which is actually completely useless. And in this particular area, this will get you more lost, because it points to areas that you can't get to. But to use things, you have to, if you try to open the door is locked. Okay, that's pretty standard. Access key lock. So the menus are actually context sensitive. So if you have the item that's needed, it will give you that option. You don't need to seek the item, which does make it easier. All right, I gotta click on that.
Hello? Is anybody...
And then that I like. I do, but in a way, I kind of like the traditional method of, you collect the items and you have to find the item that fits. Let's just head through here. And here we are inside of this area. And this is where J.U.L.I.A comes in.
Oh my God, is he dead?
I think it's obvious that he's dead. That point right there just kind of describes J.U.L.I.A. Or not J.U.L.I.A. Rachel.
This planet is plagued with extremely strong radiation.
That is Rachel in a nutshell.
Support functions such as oxygen
she will point out the obvious.
I understand.
And
But
she'll
still, he doesn't
whine.
exactly look
That's
fresh.
her
Julia, how long has
entire
it been
character.
since contact
She gets
disappeared?
told off
Would you like
by
me to
J.U.L.I.A
recalculate the
all the
time span
time.
in Earth years?
J.U.L.I.A will tell her to
Years.
calm
It would have
down,
been
tell her to
approximately
center
60
herself,
Earth years.
get a grip,
What? You let me
come back
sleep
to
for
reality,
60
stop
years?
panicking.
Your perception
She's
of
just
time means very little.
Rachel
to
is
you,
just
Rachel.
losing her mind.
60 years.
And you can kind of understand it, She's just been informed that everybody that she knew is gone. Nobody knows what's happened to them, and she has to find out what has happened. So it's a little well, I don't have a word for it. I know there is, but I don't have one. But it definitely will drive you kind of batty in this kind of situation. That's
the
status screen. Right, this is a nice thing. There's a lot of computer terminals that you can access, and you just need the ID card. You need the ID card to access them. You go in here, And you've got these crew messages, and when you find something of use, which isn't going to happen here because he is fairly uninteresting. Data pad, is this one I can get into? It is not. Okay. Which one? So, well, there's a lot of computers that you can access. There's a lot of data pads that you can access. There's a lot of backstory. Most of it is kind of useless. Most of it just kind of... It's redundant. You know, you're fed the information through some other means, and maybe fed isn't the proper term, but you're provided the information through another means, but you can also see it through, you know, the data pads. One thing that I really like is if you go to one person's, well, this is a computer terminal. If you go to the computer terminal and you access one person's log, which you can see the chat log between them and another person, then you go and look at the other person's chat log, that chat log will be there. That's a nice attention to detail. What else is in here? It's just, oh, we got some storage. It's malfunctioning. It's a crate. And let's open this door. And here we go. So here's one of the data pads. So the data pad is essentially just a diary. And you've got these dates, which are your records. And you go through. And on this one, we found a code. There's a locker code, 978125. And you saw over on the side, it popped up. Now, sometimes it'll pop up and they'll start speaking. Unfortunately, a lot of the time when you have that, what will happen is it backs out before you really have a chance to read it. And if you're like me, and you like to read everything in there, but you can't read and concentrate on what they're saying at the same time, I cannot multitask like that. It's a little frustrating because now you got to go back into it and go back to the entry. It's a little awkward. I kind of wish that they had left it until you backed out before they started talking about it. But in some circumstances, you know, it's 2 or 3 entries in for 3 pages of entries. It's a little awkward. Little awkward. So, and you've got your lockers, and he'll tell you that the locker was forced open. If you keep clicking, he'll eventually tell you to maybe check the ones that aren't open. Here we are entering the laboratory, and the laboratory gives us access to the analytic station. Now, eventually you'll be able to upgrade Mobot to have a mobile analytic station on him, but in the beginning, you've got this analytic station. Now, this makes me feel more like it's a CSI game. This has a lot of, you know, mashed up other games in it. So, you put the body sample in, you perform an analysis, and it will inform you of what it is. So, DNA is a match for Pavel, and reveals the skull was fractured by a strong blast, suggests the death was from a laser gun shot. 98.3% probability he was shot while sleeping. Well, that's kind of bad. And you've got a laser gun, which will tell you who shot it, and, you know, all that fun stuff. And a piece of cloth. I can't remember what the cloth gives me. I find that most of this stuff is kind of pointless. Most of the stuff you scan, it's just kind of filler information to make the world a little bit more believable. Later on, you'll get onto a planet that is filled with plant life. And Rachel, being an astrobiologist, well, she's in her heyday, and she just has Mobot collect absolutely everything to analyze, and most of which is completely useless. Now this is an interesting part. You get this nano SD card. Let's back out of here. There are a lot of little SD cards that you can find in here. Yamabushi is the mass manufacturer of these things. I don't know why nano SDs are still around. This is only 128 gigabytes, so it's pretty small. You get like 4 terabyte cards. Anyway, So you take this and we have to analyze it. This is a nice little thing. You perform analysis. Most of these data pads are locked. They're locked with a password. So you need to find this password. This contains an executable program designed for password analysis. So let's hop back out and we'll pick up this data pad again. This is actually a semi-important character. So you can, if you know the password, you enter the password in. You just start typing the password. I'm moving and clicking too fast. This is not the password, obviously, and access is denied. But if you click up here, insert nano SD card. You plug that in, and now you're in this hacking interface. And what you can do is you select letters. And it tells you what it is. It pops it up. So we've got DRL, and we failed. But you can continue doing it. There's no consequences to continually failing this. Okay, so we got in here. I hacked the password. I cut it out so that you didn't see it and, well, see me failing. So once you're in here, you get this, well, generally you'll get a picture. Not always. Sometimes the picture is corrupt. And you now can go through. You've already seen the datapad interface, but this happens to be the passworded one. You will always keep that card. That card comes in very, very handy. So as your investigation goes through, you gather these cards and you gather other things. In this case, with our MasterCard, we can go into the media and we have this little guy here. This is a schematic. This will allow us to build whatever it is on the schematic. So in this case, this is a high-range solar system scanner. This will allow us to access the rest of the solar system. So let's hop out, and this button here, this brings you out of where you are back to the ship interface. So here we are on the ship interface. Right now, solar system is pretty bleak. And we can go to this workbench though. This workbench, we can launch the upgrade process. And here we go. I already know how to do this. So over here is our blueprint. And down here are our parts. Kind of tells you what they are and tells you where they have to go. Seems pretty simple right from the get-go, right? You would think, but it is not necessarily. You don't have to build it exactly as it's shown here either. You have the ability to kind of fudge things up a little bit. And you actually have to in order to complete this. When I first did it, I was trying to keep it exact, but you don't have enough parts to do that. So this particular one is fairly simple. Let's see if I can do this in a reasonable amount of time. Like you see here, you've got no straight pipes. So you're kind of at the mercy of whatever the hell you've got. It also doesn't matter what interface things are going on. You basically just need to have them pass through these specific things to get to wherever they're trying to go to. So let's do that. And we will join all of this up. Oop. Let's do that. And so you click on the spot to place objects. And if you try to place an object over top of another object, so I'll do that. So just make sure you don't do that, because that kind of throws you off a little bit. Because you click on it and you're thinking you're going to rotate it, but you're not actually going to rotate it, you're going to replace it. And that doesn't work very well. So at this point, we just need to continue doing this. There's a lot of clicking involved. I kind of wish that it would be a little smarter about it, so you didn't have to click so much. but that's minor. So there we go. We now have this built with our nice little squiggly pipes. And then you just hit construct. The little scanner will go by. Scan. And she gets all excited and says, I did it. That will happen every time. So now you scan the solar system, and we now have more planets and their orbits. How great is that? So now we can go and navigate to different planets. As you can see, each one of them has a question mark. They will have that up until you actually land on them. So if you go to the planet, so we'll go here, and we'll fly. I'm going to just cancel the video.
How I told
By the way, to cancel a video,
box? Yeah.
you just right click.
Well,
that gets rid of it.
and
to skip ahead on those.
Okay, so what do we have in here?
I've created
I forgot
a
about
visualization
this.
of the memory clusters
Oh,
based
the
upon
puzzle.
the timeline of our expedition.
This is one of the
Those clusters-
first puzzles you
I
have to
I
do,
I'll give it a shot.
and this is one that I don't like. I don't like these, sliding box ones. And this one, this is a 5-way sliding box. It's almost, I guess, 3-dimensional. So you can switch these things around. It really doesn't matter. You just kind of move things around to where they're supposed to go. But here's the trick. You can see that this does not belong with this picture. So how do you deal with that? You right-click. Right-clicking swaps your different things. And let's see. That guy. And you go there? Oh, I hate these. I really do hate these. Let's try to get all of what we need in here. So we need to get rid of this guy and this guy. And I think that that's not it. Where is... Oh, it's that guy. And we should have one more, which is that guy. So you just right-click to move them to cycle through the same spot on each of the 5 pictures. Now, you don't have to do any fendangling. Once you've got this set up, what Julia will do is she will actually lock it. Let's see here. That does not belong there. Yeah, I need to find... Where's that last one? Oh, right there. So to switch between them, you just click on it. Now we'll just click back here. And there we go. That should have... Yeah, that locked it. So now it's green. So now I just have to do the remainder of them. So I will do those and be right back. And
That
for
sounds like-
completing
let's do
that,
it. Julia,
we
I
got
might find out.
another blueprint.
However, if you
Hooray! Another blueprint that we can make. We're not going to do that right now. But what we can do here is we can scan the planet again. Now, not all of these planets are something that we can land on. So right here, we can't land on it. But if we go here, it'll scan, and we can land on it. So I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to end it here. All in all, J.U.L.I.A is a solid point-and-click adventure game. It's got a solid story. It's got solid puzzles, but it does feel like it's lacking a bit. It's not going to be one of the stellar ones. It's not going to be one that's going to be remembered for years. It is what it is. It's enjoyable. It's a good time, but it just feels like it's lacking a little bit. Anyway, that's all I have to say about it. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. As always, link will be in the description of this video. And we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please hit that like button down below. You can also follow me on Twitter, follow me on Twitch, or add me to your Google Plus circles. I also have a Patreon campaign going on. Feel free to support me on there if you so desire. All in all, it's a decent adventure. It's a decent story, although it does lack in a lot of areas. It is not a phenomenal point and click. It does things very well, but maybe not really well enough to be good. Not good. Good. It is good. It's not great. How about that? It's good, but it's not great. So it's definitely worth picking up if you're a point and click adventure fan, if you like the story, if you like the puzzles. If you're more of a first person shooter guy, avoid like the plague. But all in all, it's a good time. It is definitely a good time. So that's all I got. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.
But